Olkara to kindly congratulate Tarini. Next speaker, I would like to invite from Naval Firodia Law College, Pune, Mr. Shashank Sardesai.
A very good afternoon to the dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, and my dear friends. In the words of Charles Spurgeon, it is not how much we have, but how much we enjoy that makes happiness. Unfortunately, today, we measure happiness with money. When we talk about the well-being of any nation, the first term that comes to our mind is gross domestic product, or the GDP. GDP has proved to be a successful economic barometer across all the economies. However, GDP measures how rich a nation is and not how happy it is. So what about our pursuit of happiness? And more importantly, why even consider the collective happiness of the nation when we already have established parameters like the GDP? The answer to this question lies in the concept of gross domestic happiness. Back in 1979, during an interview, the then King of Bhutan said, "We do not believe in gross domestic product. We believe in gross domestic happiness." And thus the term gross domestic happiness was first coined and introduced to the world. Now, while GDP is a reliable indicator of economic health, it fails to consider several aspects that make a nation what it is. Indeed, increases in GDP are not necessarily good. If we spend more money on lawyers to sue each other, the GDP goes up. But where is the happiness? If we spend more money on medicines and healthcare, the GDP goes up. But where is the happiness? And if we spend more money on rebuilding ourselves after a war, the GDP goes up. But where is the happiness? I believe that the concept of gross domestic happiness is closely linked with the concept of Ram Rajya. Now, Ram Rajya represents a society where there is not just food, clothing, and shelter for everyone, but also justice, security, and happiness. I also believe that India has already sown the seeds of gross domestic happiness. When the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, gave the idea of Sarvodaya, which means upliftment of all, a part of gross domestic happiness was born. But how do we measure something so relative like happiness? According to Bhutan, there are 4 pillars of gross domestic happiness. They are sustainable and equitable socio-economic development, preservation and promotion of the culture, conservation of the environment, and lastly, good governance. Now, these 4 pillars are further categorized into domains and indicators, thus proving the point that something like happiness can also be measured. Friends, in this race between gross domestic product and gross domestic happiness, none of the 2 factors can independently assess the nation. The clear winner is a perfect balance of both, and striking this perfect balance begins by adopting gross domestic happiness as a standard to measure the growth of the nation in addition to GDP. Because let us not forget, what can be measured can be improved. I would like to conclude by quoting Sir John Ruskin. That country is the richest which nourishes the greatest number of noble and happy human beings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shashank, for putting your views on GDP versus GDH. The platform of Bharatiya Chhatra Sansad is the platform from where the student leaders from entire world are invited to put their views. And next I'm going to invite a student from Netherlands, Meer Vanti Law, to put her views from the stage of 8th Bharatiya Chhatra Sansad.